leaders need help from others to recover from burnout because we never do it for ourselves. We are mired at that point in subjectivity. So you've got into that point where the very things that have taken you into burnout, you can't tell the people who are responsible for getting you into burnout, which is usually folk in your church. And you think, oh, I've got to carry on pressing on through, and I've got to carry on smiling unfailingly, and another piece of criticism has come, and I'm the only person in the church who isn't allowed to punch anybody. So I've got to smile. I'm basically, after 15 years of this kind of stuff, you're the only person in the church who isn't allowed to be human anymore. Apart from your spouse, they're really not allowed to be human. So you've got into burnout for reasons that you can't own up to, and you're never going to get out of it on your own. You need an intervention of care from outside. You need a Jethro to come from outside. I think that this happens to absolutely everybody after about 15 years. Because what happens is your toxic bucket fills up over that time. I taught that for a lot of years, and I taught that that happened to people aged 45, and I thought that I was going to be the exception to the rule, and then I found out to my horror that I wasn't. It wasn't because anything went wrong in ministry, it's because we had a personal family tragedy. Now the difficulty is, sooner or later, everybody's going to have one of those, or more than one of those. And even if nothing is going wrong with your ministry, when deaths happen in your family, that was what happened with us, if you're living your ministry life at absolute max, you've presented this veneer of sinless perfection, you think that everybody thinks that you are spiritually resilient to absolutely everything, and presumably you're going to be resilient to that as well, when you know you're crumbling inside, that's a fatal combination. We have to get good outside help. That might just be friendship. It might be professional counselling. I spent a number of years with a professional counsellor who sometimes now acts as a bit of a professional supervisor for me. Absolutely fantastic. My wife and I, for a decade, we were in a very demanding ministry situation, and a wise person said, get a personal support team. So we invited a retired pastor and his wife, a couple of missionaries, a doctor, and a couple of other folk. We said, meet with us 5 times a year, please. Buy us a meal, ideally. Have access to my diary beforehand. Have unrestricted access into any area of our lives into which you want to go. And that caused some red faces, but we meant it. And most critically, would you please just force me to listen to what my wife actually wants to say in your presence, so that she actually says it and I can't avoid it, because she's great. She's so kind, and she lets me just do crazy things for Jesus, and she usually just says, there, you go on. I'm sitting here praying, but she's bad at saying no to me. And our support team would sit there and say, now, Marcus, you're actually going to listen to Ros now. And if she says there's stuff here that she's not sure about, or there's stuff here that you want to do that she thinks is going to damage your marriage, we're going to stop you doing it. So that worked as a great support mechanism as well. And then they all disappeared around the world and unfortunately had to come to an end. But finding ways that work for both pastor and spouse, not just for pastor, is really important. So I think having a bit of a mixed economy of inputs. But at rock bottom, what you want to do is this. You want to make sure that your incomings are greater than your outgoings. And that is not an indolent luxury. If other people's joy in Jesus depends on yours, then it is crucial that you have people working with you for it. Why wouldn't you? It is no surprise that in the Old Testament, the kings that go really badly wrong are the ones that are divorced from good counsel. And yet, after you've been doing this for a bit, people think that you're just self-sufficient and never struggle with sin. And of course, then they think that they couldn't possibly step into a leadership position either, because I've got to be perfect like them. And you get superficiality dominoing through the whole church.